All right, has anyone seen this before? Yes. Yeah, you've seen this. Okay, well, if you haven't seen this, 28 million firms in the country right now, in the US, okay? 28 million companies. Well, 17,000 will ever realize over $50 million in revenue. 28 million. Now, I'm not saying you're opening a hair salon and you want to do, $50 million a year in revenue, but maybe you do. That's okay. You can find out where you want to land on here, and you can see kind of what are your odds. What are your odds? What's good? Okay, so 96% of the 28 million firms will never realize $1 million in revenue. Okay? 96%. 4% are going to see over $1 million. You have 4% chance of realizing over $1 million in revenue in your business. Pretty daunting numbers. And in between each one of these levels up, and that's a big misconception in business that no one really ever probably told you. Business is not, a nice gradual climb. It doesn't work like that. You've all had an epic win day. Something happened, and you leveled up. That's what happens. That's business. It's kind of like athletics, a little bit like sports if you're an athlete. One day you just make that shot, and you never miss that shot again. Or you just are more comfortable. You just got that rhythm down. You just figured it out. Same thing in business. You level up. Now, in between your levels up, you have these valleys of death. Okay? What's a valley of death? Give me a good valley of death. What's a good example of a valley of death? What do you think?
I would say just being stagnant in the business.
You run out of money. Your business partner dies. Something happens. You have a family issue. You get sick. Your place has some type of insurance. Your place burns down, and there's no. You screwed up with your insurance.
Pandemic.
A pandemic.
Your paralegal goes rogue and starts engaging in the unauthorized practice of law, and you got to clean that up.
And I don't think she's making that up. These are valleys of death. And they walk amongst us. They walk amongst us every day. There's a valley of death that you got to watch out for. So your goal here, my goal here, the ultimate thesis of today is how can we get you to where you want to be? How can we climb this path and get to here? Now, candidly, I'm somewhere right in this realm. I think I'm more right here. Right? So go back. I'm company's not quite 50 million at Grovara. It's my big cash cow. I'm somewhere in this little region right here.
That's a nice piece.
I know.
That's a nice place.
That's good.
It's a very, very good position, but it shows about the tenacity that I have to get through, to get to there, right? And it's not been easy. You take 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Constantly is like this, these epic wins, and then there's something happens. It's very hard, and every day is a challenge, and that's what you go through as an entrepreneur. So how can you maximize your chances to get here? And you can, these valleys of death, about why do 90% of startups fail? Look at this. No market need, 42%. Isn't that interesting? They run out of cash, 20%. Okay, here's a question. What's the number one job of a CEO?
Managing people.
Number one job. What is it? Manage cash flow, running the business. Number one job of a CEO is make sure there's money in the bank. Right? Number one job. So you got to make sure that, you always have money in the bank. And you got to make those smart decisions because you have less money than you think you have. Because there's always something that's going to happen, and you got to, as a CEO, be 6 months forward. Not today. You got to live 6 months in the future so you're prepared. And that's your number one job, to make sure you don't run out of cash. Don't be the 20% of the 90% that fail because they ran out of cash. This is a big one right here, not the right team. You're going to hear me talk a lot today about your team. Just because you start with someone doesn't mean you're going to end with them. I started my company with Grovara with 5 co-founders. There's only 2 of us left. Right? And if you told me 13 years ago when I started the business, there'd only be 2 of us left, I'd be like, no way, we're in it to win it. These are my boys. Well, boys get married. Boys fall out of love with the business. Boys get other offers. So you got to remember that, and just because you have a loyalty, people always confuse loyalty with what's best for the business. Sometimes loyalty is best for the business. Sometimes you got to be more loyal to the business if you want to succeed. Some people are like, I could never get rid of him because he's been with me since day one. I love him, Peter. Okay. Well, do you love him more than your success? If he really loves you as much as you love him, don't you think he's going to want you to get rid of him? Tough questions, right? Real questions. We'll get to them all. What is an entrepreneur?
I was just thinking.
Right? Sounds crazy. Yo, let's go back here for a second, right? You got to be crazy. You got to see this and say, I'm me. I'm going to win a Nobel Peace Prize. I'm going to go be 100. I'm going to sell my company for $1 billion. Crazy. Sounds insane when you look at this and say that, 17,000 at 28 million, your odds are completely stacked against you. So what is an entrepreneur?
Someone who's not complacent.
Someone who's not complacent. Okay. What is it?
Not afraid.
Not afraid.
I don't think they like authority.
Don't like authority. What do you think, Bob?
Someone who charts their own way.
Charts their own way. We go around. What do you think, Dan?
Somebody who has no time for the personal life.
What do you think?
I reject that definition.
I think I just don't fit into a corporate paradigm.
So the definition of an entrepreneur is an individual who assumes above average financial risk in the pursuit of starting their business. That is the definition of an entrepreneur. Now, the most important thing there is above average financial risk. You're going to put your money where your mouth is. Right? That's the big difference. The person who's daring to take that first step to succeed. Once you got that first dollar and that skin in the game, it makes it real. Right? And that first time you open your mouth, you tell someone about your business. But that is the definition of an entrepreneur. Above average financial risk in pursuit of starting their business.